Thank you very much, Governor Dukakis. And again, let me thank you to start and others as well at Boston Global Forum for organizing this series of conversations, which I think is obviously both very important and very timely with events going on in the region in recent months and years. I wanted to start with the big picture, and again, I hope I will not go on too long, and I know there are a lot of great speakers, and I see a lot of friendly faces around the computer screen here, and so I know it'll be a great discussion tonight on the three panels. So I thought what I would do is just start for a couple of minutes and give our perspective on the big picture in the region and some of the challenges that we see the region as facing and what we believe is essential piece of the framework that I think that you're talking about to help ensure that the countries in the region and the United States can figure out constructive solutions to problem solving, as you put it, Governor Dukakis. So first, obviously, we all know why this region is important. We all know why it matters, not just for what happens in the region, but what happens beyond the reaches of the Asia-Pacific. And the economic growth, the dynamism, there are a lot of reasons why our engagement in the Asia-Pacific is important, not just for the United States, not just for the region, but for beyond. But at the same time, obviously, I think we're all very clear in the understanding that as the economic dynamism in many ways has taken off in recent decades in the Asia-Pacific, at the same time we have seen a series of real serious challenges, threats, rise as well and become more complex as this economic dynamism has taken off and as interdependence within the region has expanded. And I think that the question put to everyone here today by the Boston Global Forum is the right one, which is how do we build, how do we construct framework in the region, their ugly heads, how can the countries of the region come together and find a amicable way, peaceful way to address these disputes? The first thing that I would put out there and say is that, before getting to the framework piece, is that one piece of the framework that we think is absolutely essential, and our senior leadership, obviously, in the U.S. government has reiterated this point time and again, is the importance of U.S. alliances in the region to regional peace, stability, and prosperity. These are long-standing alliances that we are doing a lot of work right now and have over the last handful of years to strengthen. Because we believe they're not just in our interests and not just in the interests of our allies, but they are in the interests of the entire region. And for decades have helped underpin regional peace and stability and prosperity. And so that is one piece that we, again, continue to strengthen because we believe it is in everyone's interest in upholding this framework that I think we all have an interest in constructing. Taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture of what a framework might look like, the first thing I would say is that international law and norms provide much of the context and substance, I think, for what we want to see in this region. We don't have to go very far to look for some of the answers that, frankly, many of the countries, if not all of them, have already agreed to in trying to figure out how do we resolve certain disputes, how do we address some of our problems. They're there in international law, in commonly accepted norms and standards. So that's the first thing that I would say I think is important for us to recognize when trying to figure out how to most constructively address the disputes and the challenges in the region. The second question, I think, is how do you actually enforce and uphold international laws and norms in the Asia Pacific. Obviously, this is a region that has a wide variety of different bilateral, trilateral, multilateral institutions and arrangements that do a wide variety of different things, but does not have quite the same level of, institutional maturity as, say, some other regions, like obviously Europe does with the EU and other organizations. So the question is, what role can these multilateral institutions and arrangements play in upholding and enforcing international laws and norms? And that's one of the big questions I think that we try to think through and try to address on the part of the U.S. government and working in conjunction with allies and partners in the region. And so the two things I want to focus on very briefly are, one, the multilateral institutions and what role they can play, and two, the specific types of issues in which I think they can help us in the region address our main challenges. So the first in the multilateral institutions, as I said, there are a wide variety of institutions out there, many of them centered on ASEAN, broadening out to the ASEAN Regional Forum, the East Asia Summit, and a wide variety of others, but also including economic institutions like APEC, where we have invested time and energy in trying to build up the capability, not just of leaders and foreign ministers and others to get in rooms together and hash out their problems with one another, but again, try to find tangible, problem-solving oriented solutions to the main challenges in the region. And so I think that, one, the first order of business for us, at least in what we've been trying to do over the last handful of years with this administration's focus in the region, is build up these institutions. We need to strengthen them and their ability to enforce and uphold international laws and norms, to build up their ability to respond to crises and serious challenges when they arise. That, I think, is our first task. Talk about a longer-term framework for peace and stability in the region. I think that the multilateral institutions are going to need to play an absolutely central role in that framework. The second point I would make, and the last one, is giving a specific example of the type of issue that the multilateral institutions should be taking up. And I think that the maritime disputes in the South China Sea in particular, I think, are ripe for being addressed by these multilateral institutions. This is the sort of situation where you have multiple different claimants going at one another and pursuing their claims, sometimes in not peaceful ways, in ways that are provocative, in ways that are concerning to one another and to the broader region as well, and which bring with them the potential for destabilization, for increasing tensions and incidents and potential conflict. And so one of the things that in the recent years, ASEAN in particular, and we have supported ASEAN in doing this as well, is trying to find a multilateral solution to the tensions in the South China Sea. And ASEAN and China's discussions that are quite slow, I would say, but are still ongoing on how to finalize and come to agreement on a code of conduct for the South China Sea is a good example of the sort of contribution that multilateral institutions can make, I think, to solving real, tangible problems that we're faced with in the region. And I think that even though the solutions themselves may not be imminent, and we may not be able to find the answer today or tomorrow or even next month, these multilateral institutions are the place where these issues and solutions to these challenges need to be put on the table, because, frankly, there are no other venues. There are no other places where you have everyone at the table coming together to address these sorts of issues. So this is the game in town, is what I would say. And so these are the places that we should do our best to empower to try to tackle key issues for a little while. So, and I know we've got a lot of other folks to get to, and I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the discussion. So thank you again, Governor Dukakis.